is Wednesday, and it is July 12th. I'm speaking to you from New York City, the human construct called New York City, and we are discussing questions and conversations that are arising from this book. You Are the Universe, Discovering Your Cosmic Self and Why It Matters. And the book is co-written with Menas Kafatos, a cosmologist and a climate change expert and a quantum physicist. And today's questions, Marek Odsiadlo, thank you for sharing the video. Thanks to anyone for sharing the video. Rishikesh Dikshit, thanks for joining every day. You're awesome. Cynthia Harris, I want that book, You Are the Universe. You can download it from Amazon or go to a local bookstore. Tracy Marie, thank you. Susan Whitmore from Adelaide, thank you for checking in. Nina Blackenberg, good morning. Nori Love, thank you. Beloved sir, thank you, Nina. Brian Turner, you've been a great influence in my life, thank you. Ashley, good morning. Sandra Brown Minden, good morning from Florida. Rhonda Henning and many others sharing the video. Thank you. Share the video. Thank you for all the beautiful hearts you're sending me, and thank you for expanding this conversation. Let me get to today's question, and then we can come back to all these beautiful messages that are coming from all over the world right now. I'm very grateful to you. Very grateful to you. Thank you. Okay. So let me address today's question. As it comes from Gary. As I read You Are the Universe and listened to you and Rupert Spira, I'm starting to realize reality as awareness / consciousness. I have come up with a new definition for virtual reality. That is the ego existing in time from thought and space from perception. How do you maintain being aware of being aware in your daily life? Thanks for your efforts in building a critical mass. First of all, Gary, thank you for this question. Thank you for being part of the critical mass so we can together aspire to a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier and joyful world. And thank you for mentioning Rupert Spira. You know, by his book, The Nature of Consciousness, Essays on the Unity of Mind and Matter, is a great inspiration, and Rupert writes with extraordinary clarity. He's also an extraordinary teacher. You should check him out on YouTube. Rupert Spira. Bernardo Kastrup is another European philosopher who lives in the Netherlands. Check him out also. Because, you know, listening to me alone, you might just get tired of the repetition of some phrases, even though it helps to listen to the same thing. And, you know, the more we cogitate or think about it or exercise our introspection, the clarity becomes even better. So I have rephrased Gary's question to say, how do we awaken to reality and from the illusion of space and time? From the illusion of space and time. So let's start with just that. We cannot experience time in reality because it is impossible for us to escape this moment, or what we call this moment. Even the moment in time in a way, is a misleading phrase. There is always now, and now is not a moment in time, and you cannot escape now. Now is the awareness in which all experience happens. Okay, now is the awareness in which all constructs happen. Now is the awareness in which all knowing happens. So now is awareness. Now is awareness. Now is timeless. Now never ends. Now what about space? Well, like time, space is also a perceptual experience. Time is a mental experience, a construct, because when we think about the past or when we think about the future, we create the idea or construct of time. But in reality, you can only experience the thought that is happening now. In reality, you can only experience the thought that is happening now. When you experience the past as a thought even, that thought is now. When you think of the future as a thought, that thought is now. So time is an illusion created as a construct by thinking about the past and future now. Important to understand that. What about space? Well, space is a perceptual experience, that is created by the emptiness of objects between objects. Once again, space is an experience in awareness created by the perception of no objects, emptiness, between objects. But the objects themselves are perceptual processes, known in consciousness, made out of consciousness, and experienced in consciousness now. Now. So space-time are mental constructs, mental ideas, as a result of coming up with a concept. But so are objects themselves, because objects themselves are perceptual processes, therefore modifications of perception, therefore modifications of consciousness, only now, only now. Moreover, there is no permanence to those perceptual processes that we call objects, because the perceptions are constantly arising and subsiding as sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, sense perceptions now, arising, subsiding, arising, subsiding. That pertains to that which you call your physical body. The physical body is experienced as a mode of perception. The physical body is another construct, mental idea, that is the interpretation of the arising and subsiding of sense perceptions, images, feelings, thoughts now, sense perceptions now. So as I've said before, the physical body is a verb, right? Verb. It's an activity, and it's activity of being, awareness, existence, consciousness, that modifies itself as sensations, images, feelings, thoughts now. This experience is now. The experience of the body, or so-called body, because it's a construct, is now. You say, what about aging? Well, aging is a qualia program of the arising and subsiding of sense perceptions, and therefore, in fact, At the most fundamental level, there is no aging because the awareness cannot age. Awareness, being formless and timeless, is not subject to aging. Only the experience that arises now and subsides now, and the continuity of that experience gives us the illusion of a body that is aging, that is subject to birth and death. But the body itself is a sensation or a perception that is subject to birth and death, you can say, in every now, as the sensation, perception arises, subsides. The Qualia program is what creates the illusion of aging as the result of the interpretation of the body. Paco Arsenio, 35 others shared the video. I appreciate it, Paco. So the body is an illusion in the deeper reality, and its aging is an illusion because awareness is timeless and cannot age. Cannot age awareness. Alicia Kali, aging is process of gradual deficiency of the sympathetic nervous system, on and on. But that's all basically human constructs, okay? Which are very useful. Don't get me wrong. Without human constructs, we wouldn't have the human universe or the human experience, or the experience even of a human body. So those constructs are useful for doing science and creating technology and doing medicine and all of that. But we're not talking about that. We are talking about how do you awaken to fundamental reality, which is timeless and ageless, eternally now. Well, by understanding intellectually that there are no objects, there are only perceptual experiences, which are modifications of awareness and modes of knowing and experience. There is no body at the most fundamental reality, and there is no universe, and there is no mind, because there is only the thought that you're having now. And by the time I said this, it's over. Another thought now. So understand this intellectually first. This is called Gyan Yoga, the yoga of the intellect. The second is practice compassion, love, kindness, joy, empathy in every relationship that you have, because you'll soon see the inseparability of form and phenomena. And even objectively, from Einstein onwards, we now know that space-time, energy and information are actually inseparable and one reality, even though scientists are constantly trying to figure out how to come up with a unified field theory, but they're doing it objectively, so there's a problem. But when we do it through introspection, self-reflection, the practice of love, what I've also called metacognition, being aware of sensory experience and without judgment, being aware of your own self without judgment, being aware of choices without judgment, and then many, many, many other ways of being mindfully aware. Do one thing at a time. Awareness of sensory experience, maybe just one of the modes of sensory experience, sound, touch, sight, taste or smell, but then awareness of thoughts arising and subsiding in awareness, awareness of emotions subsiding, awareness of sensations and sense perceptions arising and subsiding. You'll realize that awareness is the only constant, everything else is an ephemeral, transient arising and subsiding. Somebody mentioned the Buddha. Yes, Buddha is credited with the following phrase. He said, "This lifetime of ours is transient as autumn clouds. To watch the birth and death of beings is like looking at the movements of a dance. A lifetime is like a flash of lightning in the sky, rushing by like a torrent down a steep mountain, but the awareness in which all this is happening is eternal, timeless, and it is fundamentally who you are. Awareness has no age, as Rupert Spira points out, no sex, no gender, no religion, no nationality. All those are constructs based on modes of knowing and experience in human awareness. But those constructs are useful, but they also are damaging if we don't realize that they are constructs. If you want to ultimately free yourself from the illusion of birth and death, from the illusion of what Gary has called very clearly virtual reality. This is a virtual reality, and you as ego are a virtual being experiencing a virtual universe, but not as pure awareness or even as conditioned awareness, because awareness itself is not in time. Okay, so Gyan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Yoga of Love, Raj Yoga, all the techniques of introspection, pratyahara, withdrawal of the senses, pranayama, yogasana, dhyan, meditation, dharana, focused awareness, and samadhi, transcendence, they all help us free ourselves. Florence Church, I'm answering your question. Okay. Awakening to reality means awakening to timeless being that is eternal. And then seeing through the illusion of space-time and causality. You know, up until Newton, everybody thought that space-time is the theater in which objects and people and animals move around, and they have a certain lifespan. Then Einstein came along and said, actually space-time, energy and matter are inseparable. Time are also gravity, because the curvature of space-time creates gravity. I think he famously said gravity tells objects how to move, and objects tell space-time how to curve. They dance together. Of course, where else? In awareness. So all this is very useful as constructs, but the real you cannot be perceived. It is the one that perceives. Cannot be seen. It is the one that sees. Cannot be heard. It is the one that hears, tastes, smells, thinks, conceptualizes, imagines. But by itself, it can neither be seen or heard or conceptualized, etc. I think we had a break somehow, but what I was saying, the real you cannot be seen, is the one who sees. Cannot be heard, it's the one that hears. Cannot be conceptualized, it's the one that conceptualizes. Cannot be imagined, it's the one that imagines. One thing I found very useful is use the expression, people are asking what was that ad. I don't know. I think Facebook provides this service free of charge to you and me, as long as they can also put an ad there. I think that's fair enough, because the service is free to you and also to me. So no worries about short ads here and there. Okay. So I was also saying, one thing that I found useful in my life is, to look at objects, any object, and say, I am the light of awareness that makes that experience possible. I'm the light of awareness that makes this experience possible, that experience possible, this experience possible, this experience possible, this experience possible. In other words, I am that transiently. I am all that I see transiently. But the true I am is not that sees everything as an expression and modality of its own self. The true self is the eternal, timeless awareness in which this amazing show of space-time causality, objects, energy, information, and matter is happening in every now. Rob Elling says, Tattvamasi. Yes. Tattvamasi. It's not a watch, May. It's a Fitbit, but it functions as a watch also. Another human construct. Okay, so Gary, have I answered your question? I hope I have. Maintain the knowing always that all you know and all you experience is a modified form of yourself, but the experience is transient. You are eternal. Gene, Facebook never charged before, the ads burst up 45-second recipes. It's okay, listen, the world runs on commerce, right? You're getting this free of charge. I'm getting this ability to speak to you free of charge. So how do you expect commerce to happen or companies to provide this service without monetizing it? I'm benefiting, you're benefiting, so what's the big deal with that? Okay, lots of love and talk to you tomorrow.